If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Your support helps us bring you more powerful and unforgettable stories. My breath hitched. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough for me to notice. Every slow, careful movement of his hands sent a ripple through my body, strong, controlled, yet impossibly gentle. The faint scent of jasmine oil filled the air, warm and intoxicating, wrapping around me like a quiet secret. Soft instrumental music played somewhere in the background, but it did nothing to steady the chaos building inside my chest. "Try to relax, Sarah," Jake murmured. His voice carried that same professional calm he'd been trained to use. But somehow, today it felt different. Too close. Too personal. His thumbs pressed into a tight knot beneath my shoulder blade, and a quiet breath escaped my lips before I could stop it. I shut my eyes, forcing myself to focus on something simple. Breathing in, breathing out. Anything to ground myself. But then his hands moved again. Slowly, deliberately, tracing the line of my spine. And suddenly, I was aware of everything. The warmth of his touch. The softness of the sheet barely covering me. The way my skin reacted, not just to the pressure, but to him. "You're holding a lot of tension here," he said quietly. Of course I was. But not the kind he thought. His hands weren't the same anymore. I remembered those hands, years ago, holding sketchbooks, charcoal pencils, flipping pages excitedly to show me his latest drawing. Back then, they belonged to a boy. Now, they belonged to a man who knew exactly what he was doing. Every movement was precise, confident, intentional, and with each passing second, the line between professional and something else blurred more and more. "Is the pressure okay?" he asked softly. I swallowed. Yes, I managed, though my voice barely sounded like my own. Because the truth was, it wasn't just okay. It was overwhelming. When did he move closer? I could feel his breath brush faintly against my shoulder. Warm, steady, too close to ignore. His hands slid lower, working along my back, and I had to fight the instinct to lean into his touch. The sheet shifted slightly, and suddenly, everything felt exposed. Not just my body, but something deeper. The room felt smaller, warmer, charged with something I didn't want to name. Something I shouldn't name. "You should get massages more often," he said. There was something different in his tone now. Quieter, heavier. "It's not good to let this much tension build up." If only he knew. If only he understood the kind of tension that had been building between us for months. I hummed softly in response, afraid that speaking would reveal too much. Because every second stretched longer, thicker. Every touch lingered just a little too long. And I was caught between two impossible desires. Wanting it to stop. And desperately hoping it wouldn't. "I'm going to work lower now," he said. A simple sentence. But it sent a shiver down my spine. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just a massage anymore. This was something else. Something dangerous. Something that had been building quietly, patiently, beneath the surface of everything we were. But to understand how we got here, how I ended up lying on this table, caught in a storm of feelings I couldn't control, you have to go back. Back to when things were simple. Back to when he was just my husband's son, and I was just the woman his father married. At 42, I thought I understood myself. I had built a life, not perfect but mine. Teaching art at Wellington High School, spending my days surrounded by color, creativity, and the unpredictable energy of teenagers. My evenings belonged to me, my studio, my paintings, my quiet escape. After my divorce from Marcus, I had learned how to be alone. And surprisingly, I liked it. Then David came into my life. Stable, kind, predictable. Everything I thought I needed. What I didn't expect was Jake. He was 20 when we first met. An art student with raw talent that left me speechless. He had his father's sharp features, yes, but there was something softer in him. Something deeper. We connected instantly. Art became our language. While David buried himself in work, Jake and I talked for hours, about paintings, ideas, dreams. It felt easy, natural, safe. Or at least, I thought it was. Years passed, and somewhere along the way, things shifted. Not all at once. Not in a way you could point to and say, That's when it changed. It was smaller than that. Subtle. A look that lasted a second too long. A touch that lingered just slightly more than it should. A silence that felt full. I noticed it the most after everything with David fell apart. When the house felt too quiet, too empty, Jake filled that silence. With conversation. With laughter. With presence. He showed up, not out of obligation but because he wanted to. And slowly, he became the person I leaned on the most. One night, sitting on the couch, he looked at me differently. Really looked at me. "Dad never deserved you," he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with something deeper. I tried to brush it off, but something in me shifted, because for the first time, I felt seen. Not as someone's wife, not as someone's past, but as me. Maybe that was the beginning. Or maybe it was just the moment I finally noticed. And now, here we were, years later, alone, in a room that suddenly felt too small for everything building between us. Back on the table, his hands slowed, then stopped. Sarah. My name sounded different coming from him now. Not casual, not familiar, but heavy, with meaning. I turned my head slightly, met his eyes, and in that moment, everything we had avoided, ignored, denied, was right there between us. Clear, unavoidable, real. "Tell me to stop," he said quietly. His voice wasn't steady anymore. "Tell me this isn't what you want and I will." I should have said it. I should have ended it right there. But the truth? I couldn't. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being something I could control. "I can't," I whispered. And just like that, everything changed. Comment to see the next part, part 2.